All right, early this morning, Israel is heavily striking Iran as we enter day 9 of a war that Trump was more than happy to start. But now that he's facing the political repercussions of it, he's gotten cold feet, and Israel is just guiding the way and striking repeatedly, which is very telling. Israel is the one who wanted to wage this war, who continues to want to wage this war, and Donald Trump does not like the political consequences he's facing in the form of oil prices surging to over $110 a barrel. We'll talk about this further in just one moment because gas prices are spiking predominantly, disproportionately in red states. Don't get me wrong, they're spiking everywhere. I'm in Illinois and I've seen them spike nearby, but red states are getting the brunt of this gas shock. And at the same time, the stock market is falling. The stock market of many other countries in Europe and Asia falling. Any country that relies on oil or any sort of energy right now is panicking, and that's basically every single country. So Donald Trump has created a global disaster because he got pulled into a war by Netanyahu, and now Israel is continuing to strike. Trump keeps trying to wipe his hands clean and declare victory, but this war is clearly not over. The Strait of Hormuz, which is a very small passage that allows oil to get through, it allows about 20 to 30% of the daily oil to get through, has been closed down, has been effectively shut down, and Trump has no way of opening it back up. So oil prices in the middle of the night spiked to over $110. Analyst Damian Lowe says, once in a lifetime, you see a surge like this in 20 minutes. People are speculating it could hit $130, $140 a barrel. We don't know where things will go, but all that we know is that this is not short term. There's going to be long-term pain due to this. Nate Silver also points out there's almost a 40% chance, just according to this random prediction market, of a recession by the end of 2026. I know a lot of people hate prediction markets, and I also find them corny, but I think it's worth pointing out that there was only about a 20% chance of a recession, according to most people. Now, a lot of big analysts are placing money on the idea that we might enter a recession by the end of the year, and Trump is speeding that up with his economic disasters. Patrick Dehan, an analyst for Gas Buddy, points out that the biggest weekly jumps after the dust has semi-settled, it's price cycling, happened mainly in red states. Indiana, the state that I grew up in, saw a 58-cent increase in gas. Honestly, I was visiting my family over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday, so I drove back to Indiana, and I was paying attention to the gas price signs on the way home, and I realized, I feel so vindicated because I realized, hey, there's about a 50-cent increase from the last time I visited a month or two back, and I was right on the money. It was 58-cent increase. But also in Florida, there was a 57-cent increase. In Michigan, which is a red state as of last election, 55-cent increase. And then Ohio, a red state, 55-cent increase. These are the states that Patrick said he'll be watching closest today for another round of cycles as things continue to update rapidly. By the way, make sure you drop a like and make sure you subscribe to the Adam Mockler feed if you want to boost the message and support independent media. It genuinely means the world, and we will continue to get through this as a community. I love your support. You guys are the absolute best. The reason why gas prices are so important, by the way, in the simplest terms, is because they're the most visible indicator when people are driving to and from work. When I used to drive to work every single morning and drive home every single morning, there were like 3 or 4 gas prices signs on the way there that would show me how much it would cost, how much I would have to spend. You do the quick mental math and realize, wow, that's a few more dollars. That really adds up. And most Americans see that as an indicator more so than the abstract stuff that we try to sell. I made the mistake in 2022 and 3, as did the rest of the Democratic Party, of thinking that January 6th was the messaging tactic that most Americans cared about. I cared a lot about January 6th, so I thought that is what I should talk the most about. January 6th, I should explain this to Americans. But it turns out the economy is above all. It's the economy, stupid, as James Carville said. It's the gas price signs. It's the grocery store. It's whatever you drive past every single day that is most visible. Patrick Dehan then points out, wow, look at these biggest weekly changes in average diesel prices. So this is different. This is diesel prices. Texas is the largest, red state, plus 111.6 cents. Wow. North Carolina, another red state, $1.10. Tennessee, 110. Georgia, 107. Mississippi, 104 cent increase. I want to show you how how the Trump administration has been messaging around this on Fox News. Here is a montage of Trump administration officials saying this is only short term. This is going to be short term.
This is a short-term disruption for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain be for long-term gain.
We're going to have some short-term pain with long-term gain.
Short-term pay for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain, yes, but we've got some long-term gain. Short-term spike for a long-term gain.
Okay, the memo obviously came out from above. Holy shit, we're only halfway through this montage too. The memo obviously came out from above to call this short-term pain and just to concede that up front. But here's the problem. Number one, nobody signed up for short-term pain. Donald Trump tricked voters into thinking that he would end inflation on day one, end wars on day one. He's somehow done neither, done the opposite, and combined both into a catastrophe where a war starts and prices spike. But secondly, he said this exact same thing, Trump did, after he put the tariffs on about a year ago. It was almost exactly a year ago. In March or April of 2025, he did his Liberation Day tariffs. And what he said is that there would be some short-term pain for some long-term gain. Well, that was a year ago, and we're still in the short-term pain part.
Some short-term pain for American consumers.
We may have to deal with that in the short term.
Short-term and temporary.
Temporary short-term pain.
It's going to suck in the short term.
Some short-term pain.
Short-term pain. We have to focus on the short term.
Short-term.
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 Short-term and long-term.
Short-term blip. Hopefully this is a short-term pain. Short-term is highly outweighed of the long-term benefits.
The memo came down. They say that liberal media is controlled by George Soros or whatever, but there's very clearly a top-down effort to downplay the effect on Americans. Khalaf Ahmed Al-Habtour from the United Arab Emirates responds to Lindsey Graham, who has been warmongering on Fox News out of his ass. I made multiple videos about this yesterday. Lindsey Graham goes on Fox News, sounds half drunk and says, at least we'll make good money now. And Khalaf says, I heard the statements of U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham. This was translated from Arabic. He says, I heard the statements of U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham in which he calls on the Gulf Cooperation Council countries to enter this war, saying that we are also under attack and that we must join the fight. And I say to him clearly, we know full well why we are under attack, and we also know who dragged the entire region into this dangerous escalation without consulting those he calls his, quote, allies in the region. We thank God that the United Arab Emirates and the Gulf Cooperation Council countries are doing well, and we have no need for someone who claims he came to the Middle East to save us. The truth is, the hasty American decisions are what embroiled the region in a war whose peoples were not party to its decision-making. That is a very, very good point. Very great way of saying it. I quote tweeted, I found some Trump supporter on Twitter who is blaming this on Biden. Look at the guy that I'm quoting here, Paul Mitchell. He goes, I guess Biden shouldn't have canceled the Keystone Pipeline from Alberta, eh? Alberta has more oil and gas reserves than the entirety of the United States. We haven't tapped into the reserves, number one. Number two, this wouldn't solve the problem of the Strait of Hormuz being closed. I quote tweeted, I said, dog, they're still blaming it on Biden. I want to end this off, though, with a dive into Pete Hegseth's 60 Minutes episode. If you want me to make a full video about his 60 Minutes, let me know. But he gets asked about the school where 160 to 170 children were struck by a U.S. Tomahawk.
More than 1,600 Iranians have been killed, according to a group called Human Rights Activists in Iran. That includes 168 people, mostly children, at a school in the southern part of the country, an area the U.S. was attacking at the time.
Have you made any conclusions about whether or not the United States, inadvertently or not, was involved in any military strike at that school?
Well, we're still investigating, and that's where I'll leave it today. But what I will emphasize to you and to the world is that unlike our adversaries, the Iranians, we never target civilians.
There was a report late in the week from two officials that it was likely U.S. involvement. Is that report false?
I've already said we're investigating.
If you could tell the American public it definitively was not us, you would tell us, wouldn't you?
I would say that it's being investigated, which is the only answer I'm prepared to give.
If you read between the lines, there's very clearly a few things going on here. Number one, the journalist is right. If our hands were clean, Pete Hegseth would be the first one to jump up and down and say that. it's very clear his lawyers, or the lawyers of the Pentagon, told him to just say, I'm investigating. We're investigating this. Because that's all he said over the past few days about the school children. He said, we're investigating. When he was standing next to Donald Trump on Air Force One, he just said, we're investigating. Even as Donald Trump tried to nudge and urge him to say that it was not the United States. Now, when he says we're investigating, that leads me to believe that they know the United States did it. They're just trying not to admit it because we know the United States did it. We got new video footage yesterday from Bellingcat. Journalist Trevor Ball has new video footage showing a U.S. Tomahawk missile hitting an IRGC facility in Manab, Iran. And it's interesting. The missile hits right there. That's the Tomahawk. And it blows up, but that's not even what we're supposed to be looking at. It's the footage showing smoke behind, already rising. That smoke behind the strike. That is exactly where the girls' school is, where 175 girls were killed. We know this was a U.S. Tomahawk because Iran and Israel don't have Tomahawks. I'm going to leave it there. Drop a like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.